results look like. I'm going to do a live demo of this as well. So I'm David Onder. I'm the Director of Institutional Excellence Research and Grants at Haywood Community College. We're in Western North Carolina. We're part of the public community college system of North Carolina. There's 58 of us. We have about 1,400 students this fall in our curriculum enrollment, and we have 2,300 students on our continuing education side. So that's a little bit about us. This is the picture of our mill house, which was made by some of our students back in the 70s, I believe. So to begin with, I want to set the stage. We wanted, as I said earlier, we wanted to do this as minimal cost to us, as far as not personnel costs, but tool costs. So we didn't want to buy any more tools or any more products. I wanted to use existing tool sets, things that people were familiar with, and I wanted to not have to install too many things. We already had Quarto installed, so that wasn't a big deal to us. We already use Quarto for some of our reporting. And the goal was to produce both a website and a PDF from the same source, from that Word document, and have it be one nice product. So you'd be able to actually, from the website, you can open up the PDF. I'll show you all this later. So we use, as part of our orchestration, we use Microsoft Teams. We use Microsoft Teams for a number of things already. And so it was only logical that we would attach this accreditation reporting the Word documents where people were going to work on the narratives in Microsoft Teams, where we already do a lot of work. Also, we wanted to leverage the fact that everybody knows how to use Microsoft Word. We use it almost every day for the vast majority of people, except for those people who use Macs, which there's not that many people that use Macs. So, and then under the covers, it leverages a tool that comes as part of Windows, PowerShell, and also it leverages a free product called Quarto to actually do the report generations. It uses one other product called Pandoc, which is actually installed as part of Quarto, but we're going to install. I asked that you install it separately because you need to invoke it a certain way, and I haven't figured out how to do that. Well, I take the time to do that from the Quarto install. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the way it works, our users are out there. They are working in Word documents. They never see anything else. They only work in the Word documents. They work in Teams. They go into Microsoft Teams. There's a channel for them there, and they work in the Word documents that they have access to. We provide comments in that Word document. If we have questions about what they wrote, or if they have questions about what they're trying to do, we can write comments back and forth in Word, and those things automatically go to us in our emails, and we can link directly to them from the email, so we can go straight to the comment. So it's a really great feature of Word, and they hang out in the Word document over time, so we can resolve those comments, and they are not included as part of the build when we actually build this into a website and PDF. Those comments do not show up, so it works out really well. So my first question to everybody would be, what kind of barriers would you face if utilizing Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Word? Would anybody have any barriers? Anyone want to chime in on that? You could put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and say what kind of barriers that you would have.
I would just say that sometimes when I'm working within Microsoft Word inside of Teams, things get really wonky, and so I have to pull it out of Teams into Word, and sometimes that is a bit of a hassle, especially if I forget to do that. That's usually a challenge for me.
Okay, yep. And you can set up, and which is what I actually do, because I don't like using Microsoft Word inside Teams, but this does all work even if you do that. I have my teams set up, and I recommend to other folks to do the same thing. To when it opens up Word documents or any of the Office documents, that it actually opens them up in the app itself, but it's still connected directly to Teams, so it's still operating in Teams. It's just opening it up in the Word app itself, which is that way I avoid some of the wonkiness that Teams has when it's opening up Word documents. So let's see, some people put some comments in here. Users are unfamiliar with even the basics like track changes in history. That's true. I try not to do a lot of track changes things, and if I do, we tend to turn them off so that people can't see them, but they're there so that they are playing a role. Not many with Word, but Teams use is very limited on our campus. That's not an uncommon thing. We have a number of people on our campus that are still not comfortable in Teams, even though we do a lot of things in Teams. And when I bring up the screenshots that I'll show you next about our team, you'll see we do our faculty credentialing, we do our excellence plans, all in Teams in the same. It's actually all in the same team. So they are familiar. They have to go in there anyways to do this, but we try to minimize how difficult it is for them to get there. And Sarah said they must use Google Docs. I have no idea how well this would work in Google Docs, but it might actually work in a similar fashion. I've never tried it. The good thing is it doesn't work by communicating directly with Teams. It takes advantage of Teams synchronization, and Google Docs does the same thing. So I would imagine this would work pretty similar to the way it works in Google Docs, but it's leveraging some things about Microsoft Word that Pandoc knows how to convert. And so I'll show you that in a minute. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so I don't think so. So we'll go on. All right, so this is what Teams look like. So hopefully everyone has seen Teams before, but if you haven't, this is a screenshot of Microsoft Teams that's drilled in right into our particular team that we're looking at. This is, we have a team called the Accreditation team, and in that we hang all of the accreditation related items. And in Teams, you can create what are called channels. So we have some channels that are specified in there, and one of them for us was the SACCOC fifth year report channel, because that's where our fifth year report documents were held. Our channels are all on the accreditation team. The channels are all private. That way we can control who has access to these things, and then we can give users access to the team channel if they need it, but otherwise we'd rather they not even know that the channel was there. So that's why we have private channels. But as you can see, we also do excellence plans and faculty qualifications in here too. And we also use Microsoft Word documents for those as well. So when you go into the team, you can look at the folders, the files. Now they call it shared. You can look at the files that are within this team, and there's a number of folders that are created. And we created a folder for each one of the standards. This is after the fifth year report. We had to do a follow-up report, and so these are just the standards that we had to do in the follow-up report. But we have a folder for each one of the standards, and then we have an other supporting documents folder and a support files, which just has a bunch of other stuff in it. And then we also included extra things like what the style guide was for that particular report and some other information. We can include other documents in this folder as well and allow them to make reference to them as they go forward. When you go into other supporting documents, this is where the files live that would define things like who the leadership are for the school and the overview page that you'd see on the website. It also includes as you can see at the bottom down there, the signatures page. And we actually print that out. Me and my boss, the president of HCC, sign that document and we scan it back in. So we have an actual scanned document that we've scanned in. And then the signature.qmd, that's a document that's going to get copied over when this whole thing gets built. And it allows us to just like subsume that PDF right into the Word document or the PDF, right into the website or the PDF document that gets created. This way we get to actually use a real signature page. And we do this with the signatures and also with the institutional report, data report. When you go into the standards folders, inside the standards folders, you'll see that there's an artifacts folder. That's where all the artifacts go. And the only artifacts that we accept are PDFs. Everything has to be a PDF. And then there's also a not used folder. That's a folder where we can stuff everything else. So at first we don't tell anybody that we only take PDFs. We just say drop your artifacts in the artifacts folder. So they'll drop Word documents, Excel documents, PDFs, images, web links, all kinds of stuff that ends up in there. And so then we take those, convert them into PDFs, and then we move them into the not used folder. So that way we know here's what they submitted to us, but we want PDFs in the artifacts folder. The other files that we have in here would be the actual Word document that they have access to edit. And the other documents, these other PDFs, they're completely ignored in the transition process when we move this over to the conversion side. The other files in this folder are completely ignored. The only file that gets read is the Word document and the artifacts folder. That's it. And in the artifacts folder, if you stick any other folders in there, it would get ignored too. So, but we like to put in there what our response was from the last reaffirmation that we did, and also any resource guide pages or other documents that would support the writing of this particular narrative. If you go into the Word document, you'll see that it's laid out exactly like the template is for that SaxoC provides you. We wanted to keep it, we wanted to make it look exactly the same. This is what reviewers are used to seeing. And we've all looked at them a million times as accreditation liaisons. So we wanted to make sure that it basically looked the same. So up at the top, you have the description of the standard. You have the judgment line, which is always compliant because we're always compliant. And then the narrative box where you can place the narrative, and we can put tables in there. As you can see, I highlighted a couple things. Where it says procedure 1.1.1 in green, that is actually a style. It's a Word style. That's a link to artifact style in Word that allows us, again, that will come across when we do the pandoc conversion later on. That will come across, that style will come across, and Quarto knows what to do with that style when it does its conversion. And it will look up, it will look for a PDF called procedure 1.1.1-employment. There should be a PDF with that name in the artifacts folder, and it will link to that file and proceed with processing the file. Same thing goes with in this table. This is an example from 5.4 where we have resumes and job descriptions listed. Same thing goes. We have person 1 is attached to the link to artifact resume style, and position 1 is linked to artifact job description style. And so those, again, Pandoc and Quarto will know what to do with those when they see those, and they'll make their way through, and they'll get linked up to the right thing. So the resumes will all get linked up to, in this case, it would be resume-person 1. And for the job description, it would be job description-position 1. That way they all get listed in alphabetical order, and all the resumes get lumped together instead of scattered all throughout. Because I don't want it to be by name. I want all the resumes to be together. Like, this is a resume. And now at the very bottom, where you would place your sources, any good narrative for SaxoC would have a list of sources. We would stick those sources down at the bottom in alphabetical order, but you don't need to do that manually. Quarto will take care of all that, and we'll stick them all at the end, and they'll go in either alphabetical order or in the order they are shown, depending on how you configure it. But it's configured by default to do alphabetical order. And basically, the way the workflow happens is we have a synchronization process that's controlled by Microsoft Teams that will synchronize the Teams files through OneDrive to your computer. Not to your OneDrive. I'll show you that in a second. I do not recommend synchronizing them into your OneDrive. I recommend that you synchronize them utilizing OneDrive. And we'll talk about that in a second. And once they're on my computer, as the conductor of this whole thing, once they're on my computer, I will run pandoc to convert Word documents into what's called a markdown document, which is nothing but a text file that has certain codings in it to tell Quarto what to do. And then that's passed to Quarto. Quarto is the one that actually does the rendering and turns them into nice, pretty PDFs and websites. So when you're in Teams in the file section, if you go up to the menu area, the three-dot overflow menu, unless you're expanded out and you can see some of these, in the three-dot overflow menu, there's actually two ways to synchronize files in Microsoft Teams. The first one is the one that has the big X over it, because I don't recommend you ever use that from Teams. That one would add a shortcut to OneDrive. And that actually adds a shortcut to your personal OneDrive, well, your business OneDrive account. It'll show up as a folder inside your OneDrive folder. The problem is that makes it feel like it's yours and yours alone, and that you can start deleting things and do wonky things to it, when that's not actually true. It's not yours and yours alone. It's the team folder. So I feel like everything in the OneDrive should be yours and yours alone, unless you share something out. So I recommend the secondary option down there, which is called sync. Sync will actually synchronize to an organization folder like this. So our organization is Haywood Community College. The team is Accreditation, and the channel is SACCOC fifth year report. So that's how Teams is set up for us. So that background image there, SACCOC fifth year report. Oops, sorry, my bad. Here, this one here, that is the name of the channel in Teams. This is a Teams window back here. That is the name of the channel. What's going to happen is it will synchronize to your Windows folder. And when it does that, it will create a folder called whatever your organization's called. In this case, our organization is Haywood Community College. So we have a Haywood Community College organization. So here's our folder. In that folder will be another folder, and it will be the name of the team, Accreditation, and the name of the channel twice. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But that's how it creates all of them. The name of the team, the name of the channel twice. And that folder, inside that folder will be all the files and folders that you see on your Teams channel. After you got your team set up and you've got people doing things in there, the one thing that as the conductor you can do is start setting up some of the backstage work. There are some files that need to be configured to make this work the way that you would want it to work for you, because it won't look very pretty if you don't make changes to the configuration files. So there's 4 primary configuration files. 2 of them are almost identical, so I just lumped them into one. The underscore Quarto.yml file is called the Quarto YAML file. That's where some of the default information is set up and basically doesn't need to be changed. It should be true for everybody. Should work just fine. The Quarto website YAML file controls how the website is created, and the Quarto PDF YAML file controls how the PDF is created. And I'll show you an example of the PDF one in a second. The last one is the custom SCSS. That's a sassy CSS. For those not familiar with web things, that would be a cascading style sheet, but it uses the sassy format. It's just an easier format to create codes that would control the colors and whatnot. I can show you that in the live demo. This is what a Quarto PDF YAML file looks like. It's just a text file. That's one of the things I really like about Quarto is it's all text-based. This is all text files. So there's no wonkiness to it. So it doesn't matter if these kind of things could be run on a Mac or a Linux machine. The Quarto part of this could definitely be run on any of those. Where we define at the top the project type and some information about what we want rendered. It controls what shows up on the title page and how things will look on the screen when the PDF is created. So it's just trying to tell it what documents to use to do that. We'll be able to see that a little bit. Some other things that you can customize. You can customize the logo. Right now it's just this bland logo. And I'll show you an example when we do the demo. I'll show you a run without the customization and a run with it. And you'll be able to see how it changes. And then you can also change the fave icon that shows on the tab. You can change the background colors, the fonts, the font colors. You can change all kinds of things. I would try to minimize changing too much because it's got a pretty standard look to it that should work in most instances. But changing these things would be most useful. And the great thing about it is I've got it set up so that all we have to do is double click on the convert and render batch file in the R folder, the synchronized folder, and it will run pandoc, which converts Microsoft Word, as I said earlier, to Markdown files. Strips away a lot of that cruddy stuff that shows up in a Word document and turns it into a text file. And then it calls Quarto, and Quarto converts that nice text file into a really nice website in PDF. And again, we're going to create two outputs at the end. So this is what a website looks like. And for those with the Compliance Assist days of old, this is modeled exactly after the Compliance Assist websites that were created from Compliance Assist. With some of the key pages on the left, the requirements and the QEP at the top, and a link to the PDF in the upper right corner. And this is just a snapshot of the header of the PDF. I'll show you a real one when we create it. So my question to you all is, what kind of barriers would you face utilizing Pandoc and Quarto and this sort of backstage setup? I know there's some people who have to have some opinion about it because it's got to make you somewhat uncomfortable, I would think. So Bella asked if I have a basic setup file for Quarto that you can share. Yes. Everything that you see here is downloadable from GitHub. I'll show you. I have a link to that in my presentation at the end that I can share with you. But everything here is set up, should run. I can tell you this. well, like I have a background in computers, and which is why I developed most of this. I did share this with another institution who was also doing their fifth year at the same time, and the person who was overseeing that was not someone who had a strong technical background, but she was comfortable enough to be able to run this, and we had to work through some things because their setup was a little different than ours. But once we got those kinks worked out, she was able to just have everyone do their stuff in Word, and it would synchronize with her computer. She'd click on the convert and render, and voila, she would have a website in PDF. And she had very little technical background. That's not her thing, and I believe she would tell you that. So Sarah said yes, she uses R, but this feels more advanced than what I could do without setup work. I think you can do it, Sarah. And another Sarah with an H, coordinating with Marcom to be sure that the website created aligns with their platform and standards. Okay. I don't know anything about that, but be happy to hear about it. All right. So again, just as a reminder, our goal was to do this with minimal costs, like none, zero. We're not a very big school. We don't have a lot of money. I wanted to use familiar tools, and I wanted to have a place where we could have commenting that could be used to make this easier to communicate back and forth. The difficulty, I think, for many people, and the thing that would cause them to be a little unsure about it, is the backup. That the back end does require a little tech setup. I don't know how well it works with Google Docs, but it would certainly be interesting to see how well it works. I think it will work, but I really don't know. And also, this is I ran all this on Windows. I've never tried it on a Mac or a Linux box, but that would be interesting. Thank you, Bella. So, okay, live demo time. This is always the scary part, right? So I have, whoops, let me go back. Pause you for a second. I have a folder. This is this is the folder that has all of the compliance report files that you can download from GitHub. This is pretty much everything you need. In it, we have the Quarto YAML, the Quarto PDF, Quarto website files, all of the scripts that would run to create this are all in here as well. Let me just show you what these look like. So this is what the Quarto YAML looks like. Again, most of this should be left alone. It's pretty much, if you set it up the way that we've set it up, all of these things would work the way they are. But you can change it. Like if you wanted to use this for a different kind of compliance report, not necessarily for CSC, but a nursing compliance report or whatever, and you wanted to create just a PDF out of it, it can do all that too, and you can change the names of the different fields. So instead of using sources, it uses something else depending on what you're using. But you can configure all that inside here. And like if you're going to have the QAP, then you would add those parts. If you're not going to have a QAP, then you would take that part out, whatnot. So. Again, this is the PDF Quarto YAML file that I showed you on the screenshot. Because it's PDF, it does the coloring a little differently. So there's some color changes you would have to make in here to make the PDF adopt the same colors that you're using on your website. But it's fairly easy to change because all you got to do is change it down here. And the Quarto website one, Same thing, so we can control, again, the pages that are going to get rendered, what things are going to be called where, how the screen is laid out. All that can be changed depending on what you wanted to do. And so you can see what the sassy CSS looks like. It just uses HTML codes for the colors, and down here are the colors that you would want to use for your primary colors for this report. These are defined colors, and we show you in the manual where those colors are used so that you would know which one you want to be custom 1, which one you want to be custom 2, and which one you want to be custom 3. But we also labeled them here, so you'll be able to see when you look at the website when it gets rendered what it looks like. So here it is. That's the configuration files. That's what you need to change. And the other, you would have to also change the convert doc to MD file a little bit because it has to know where your data comes from. So you'd have to specify that. But once you do that, you'll never touch that again because it always comes from the same place again. So mine's coming from this folder called live demo source. So let's go look at live demo source. This is live demo source. This is not the way that it really links up because I don't trust Teams and the whole syncing process in a live demo. I'm not that crazy. So I minimized it. So I'm just in my little live demo, I'm only working on 2 standards. But if you go into them, you can see we have the artifacts folder. There's an actual file there. There's a Word document. We have an extra document in here. If I open it up, you'll see that it's just a Word document, and it looks just like I told you about before. And here's one of those styles I was talking about. There's no links in here. There's no linking at all. It's only just put text in there. We actually don't even tell the users to put the styles on there. We just tell them to put the name of the artifact in there. We'll link it all up later. It's easier that way. We're going to look at all of them anyways, so it won't matter. Let me show you the 5.4. 5.4. This one has a table, and it does. It's moody sometimes. It depends on what your table looks like as to what it's going to render. It can be moody. I got to do a little work on that to try to figure out why it's so moody. But again, narrative, links. I'll show you all that when I run it. So we go into live demo, and then you just want to run. There's 2 convert and renders. There's a convert and render that doesn't create logs and one that does. And I like to create logs because I especially when you're developing your report, because there's errors that will occur and then they'll go shooting by on the screen and you won't see them, and then it'll close the window on you, and then you'll not have that information. So if you run it with logs, you'll see it. But I'm going to run it without it so you can see that it's going to run. So it's grabbing all the Word documents, converting them to Markdown. Now it's working on each of those one at a time, and now it's done. So now it's copied some images over that it needed to copy. Now it's rendering the Markdown to the website. So it's creating the website version. And that's done. Now it's creating the PDF. And I can say this, if you have access to generative AI, which I mean, everybody does because you can get a free account to any generative AI. When you run into some of the errors that can pop up in here, you can always copy the error to generative AI and say, what's going on? And it'll tell you exactly what's happening. There you go. We're done. So what it did, converted everything to Markdown, and I'll show you, it actually did. So in this requirements folder, there's the 2 standards. And here's the 5.4 standard that we had that table in, and you can see it's got the the title of it. Here's the abstract that goes up there. Here is the judgment section. Here's the narrative. You can see how there's links in here. It created brought the styles over. Here's the table. So it's all just text files. Everything is just a text file. And then it also created a folder that has everything in it. So this has the PDF of the report and the whole website. And it also zipped it all up for you into a zip file. Here's the zip file right here. But I'm going to go in here. And, well, I think I already have it open. So let me go here. So this is what it looks like when you create this. And as you can see, sort of ugly right now because it's using colors that are intended to not be very pretty. There's the aqua color. There's the purple. This is probably the other purple. Oh, no, there's the light purple right there. You can see the light purple, how it's light. I can go into requirements. I can go look at the standard 5.4. We can see that it has the title of it. It has the abstract. There's the judgment. Here's our narrative with links to the artifacts. Here's our table. Again, if you have more than just two of these, it actually will put lines in there for you. In the conclusion, and then there's our sources. Remember in the Word document, it just said, don't put anything here. Here you can see that it actually put in alphabetical order all of the artifacts that were in here. And I can click on them. It'll open up the artifact for me. There's one of the artifacts. Here's a person. This is one of their resumes. Here's person two's position. So that's a job description. And if I go down here, you can see the same thing. It's exactly the same files as the other one. And 8.1 does the same thing. And we have a QEP. So here's our QEP impact report. And here's the executive summary. And then if I go up here to the upper right corner and click on PDF, you can see, so I was in 8.1, so it took me to the 8.1 section. But if I go all the way up to the top, there's the title page. There's the table of contents. There's the welcome screen. That's on here. That's the welcome screen. Here's your overview page. Oh, that's on here. That's the overview. See, there's the overview page, which can have pictures. There's your leadership team. That's over here. That's under the leadership team. Here's a technical support page. That's over here. That's on this one here. That's technical support up there. Here's signatures attesting to integrity. And here's the page. So this is the thing I told you about was a separate PDF. When I go here, it'll actually open up the PDF. This is the PDF here. But the PDF that's created actually has the PDF embedded in it. The same thing for the institutional summary. This copy of it, and you can see how it says enter institution name here. I just took a template and put it all in there. So we would fill all that out and do that, and we could keep scrolling down. This again, some days I want to scream. So now my tables aren't being rendered right. That's what I get for upgrading Quarto before I did this. It worked earlier. I ran it twice today. It worked one time and it didn't work the other. So I'm sorry. And there's 8.1. And here's the quality enhancement plan and the summary. So now I want to run that again, but I'm going to change 4 files. And run that again. So Bella, I can render the website or the PDF individually. I don't have to render them all together. You can also run the convert steps individually so that you can find out if there's a problem happening with the conversion, because inside this folder, there's the convert from scripts. They are their own scripts, so they can handle that part of the code. Now, when I go back over to the website, I'm going to refresh this. And, oh, did you fail on me? Oh, you're not done. There we go. So I changed 4 files, and you can see the whole color scheme changed. We now have a logo up here at the top that was different than the logo there before. Everything else is the same. If I go into the PDF, now we have, instead of that generic stuff, we have actual names in here as well. But everything else is exactly the same because that configuration file only changed the title page. And if I go back and show you the PDF here, you'll see in this section here, that's where we defined who to contact, what the date was, what the name of the college was, and the address and all that stuff. As long as you follow the same format, everything will work. Here's the logo. That's where that gets controlled. And our colors are down here. Here's our HCC colors. And then we tell it what colors to use right there. And in the end, you should have this was our real one. This is the one we actually submitted. And you can see all the different sections. You can click between them. You can refer to other sections within a narrative. I can't remember which one. I know we did that. I just can't remember which one right here. Standard A2, see also standard A2, and you can click on that. It'll take you to standard A2. And the table, this is the way the table is supposed to be rendered, like this, with the nice little line in there. This is your website that you're creating is not public facing, Bella. This is all internal. It's just a set of files that you're running locally. The setup is inside the folder. There's a HTML file that you can open up that then references everything inside this site folder. So everything is inside that folder, and it's wherever you put it. And you can then share this with other people because anybody can open up that, and it'll open it up in the web browser and allow you to navigate your way through it. So, question, where do you go to get started? I don't think I told you that yet. I'll tell you that in just a second. But what tools would you need to download in order to be able to do this? This is just seeing if anybody can remember. There we go. Okay. So Jean already has Quarto. She just needs Pandoc. Um, Bella, I believe you're working with Google Docs, so you would need Teams and Word. But again, I'd be interested to see if this would work with in the Google Docs world. I think it would, but we might need to tweak it a little bit, but um, all right. So as you can see, you can utilize Microsoft Teams and Word to create this powerful automation that the users don't even know is going on. All they see is Teams and Word. But behind the scenes, we're running this automation script to actually create the report the way we want it. And everything is hidden from from everybody else. We're the only ones that are experiencing the scripts. Oops. You can, yeah, Mitchell, I would love to hear about that for sure. Here you can get to this on GitHub. That will take you to um, a GitHub page. I'll go to that here in a second so you can see it, see what I'm talking about. And then you'll also need to have Quarto, Pandoc, and you can get to those by going to these links. And I can share this out. And then here's just a little tutorial pages about YAML and SASE cascading style sheets if you are curious about those. So, all right, let me go back. Let me go back to that. This is the GitHub page. You can see all of the files are here exactly as I showed in the folder. There's a little README here that describes all the things that you would want to change in the configuration files to make this work the way you would want it to work, to have it turn out to be the color you want it. So it tells you about all the different colors. Where do these colors show up so that you know which ones are controlling what? So if you change custom one, that's what it's going to change. It'll change like the background here and change the colors of the judgment. If you change the link color uses custom two. And so if you want to change custom two, it'll change the link color and so on. So each one of these describes different parts of the web page that are controlled by different colors, and you can find all those in the style sheet file. But to download it, you would just scroll all the way up to the top here, and under code, you have a download zip, and you just download that and unzip it in a folder and start working on making changes to the configuration file. The README is the file you would want to look at. And the README is in Markdown format. So if you don't have a Markdown viewer, you'll be able to see it. It'll look like Markdown. Looks like, oh, well, this, yeah, I want to see the code. It looks like this. So that's what Markdown looks like. So you'll be able to, each one of the pound signs is a different level of like sections. So there was a question, how do you specify the styling in Word so Pandoc knows how to convert it? So we use just word styles. to source. There's on the home screen, there's styles, and we have a template file, and maybe that'll help in the folder, in the GitHub folder that has all these styles already defined. So that way you would have those styles predefined for you. We took every other style out of here except for the styles that we needed to actually do this. So because we didn't want people choosing styles that weren't ones that were supported by the conversion process. So these are the styles that we use, and so we don't want them using any other style. So if you want to have a header, you have to choose a heading style. But we do have in the GitHub folder, there's a template, and that's the standard blank template that's included in there. So, and then Bella asks, is there somewhere in the code that I can see what it's looking for in terms of styles? So, yes, there is somewhere in the code where you can see where it's looking for the styles. So under extensions, this comes as part of the GitHub. Under extensions, there's an accreditation extension, and in there is what's called a Lua script. And that Lua script actually defines how the styles are converted. This script defines everything about how the styles are actually named and converted into something that Quarto knows. I don't necessarily recommend people look at it per se, but if you are the adventurous type and want to see how the sausage is made, this will do it for you. Lua is a very odd language that Quarto uses under the cover to create all of its extensions. It's incredibly powerful. It allows you to replace things as it's processing text. It allows a script to just replace everything that it's seeing with something else, which is why we're able to take the sources section and say, yes, thank you for what you wrote here, but I'm going to throw that out and replace it with something totally different. Because as we were processing through all the links to artifacts, we were saving them in a list. And then when we run into that sources one, we just throw that list in there and get rid of the one that was there. So, and I would imagine, like Sarah said, that there's a corresponding way to set this up in Google. If you take the template file, that might save you some of that work, where if you can convert it to the Word doc or to the Google Doc format, if that's what you want to use, and try it that way. And then when you bring it over, yeah, well, we'd have to look at that, but I mean, I'm happy to look at that and see. Pandoc converts styles. So what Pandoc does when it's converting to Markdown is it will convert things that it knows about. So we've asked through the Pandoc invocation in the code, we actually asked Pandoc to do very little, but some key things. And so it brings all the custom styles that are created in Word. So all these are custom styles. So it brings them all over and puts them into blocks, puts the text that's in that style into blocks. So we have all of those custom styles end up showing up in here. And then there's some other key things that are done in the conversion script to like change how the checkboxes show up, because we use Font Awesome for that. But each one of them, it takes the style and keeps these custom styles and puts them into a Markdown format that Markdown knows how to deal with. So that these curly brace custom style things, Markdown's they ignore them in the sense that it's not converted to actual text. It's just used as something to control what happens in Markdown. Quarto doesn't know what to do with those. It just has them, and when it runs into them, it will hand them to an extension if the extension wants them. Our extension handles all of these custom styles. And so when it sees a custom style, then we immediately capture the custom style, go process it the way that we need to process it. And so, yeah, and it will convert. It basically takes everything else out. When it comes to a header, it automatically knows what to do with a header. So as you can see, headers are automatically converted to anything that's in a heading style will be converted to a pound sign for whatever level that header is. So, well, I want to thank you all for coming. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know. I'd be interested in knowing if you tried this and what obstacles you've run into and what success you had. And if you're going to SaxCOC the next week, I'll be there. Be happy to chat.